Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this meeting of the Planning and Development Council of the Town of Oakville. Calling the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, I understand we have regrets.
Yes, we have regrets from Councillor Demoff.
Thank you. Councillor, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Thank you. Could we have a motion and a second? Councillor Duddick and Councillor Johnston move and second that we resolve into committee of the whole. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Council, you have 4 consent items before you. Is there any need for discussion or separation? Councillor Johnston moves the consent items. All in favor? Those against? None. They are adopted. That brings us to the public hearing item on our agenda, the zoning bylaw amendment and plan of subdivision for Shield Bay developments. And as is sometimes the case, maybe even often the case, this is the public input meeting, not the decision meeting. And staff and council will be receiving the comments from the public. And if you turn your attention to Trish Collingwood, she will review for council the material you've already read and catch the public up on what this matter is. Trish, we're all ears.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Burton. The purpose of this report is to introduce the zoning bylaw amendment and plan of subdivision planning applications for Shield Bay Developments, Inc., in conjunction with the required statutory public meeting. As noted by my report, there are no decisions to be made at this time, and the report is to be received by council. The property is located at 467 Dundas Street, north of Dundas and west of 8th Line. The property has 362 meters of frontage along Dundas Street, and the site area for this application is approximately 44 hectares. The site is adjacent to the Dundas Trafalgar Inc. Minto Communities application to the west of the subject lands. The applicants have been working together to ensure their plans are coordinated with regards to such things as the road network, park, and school block elements of the North Oakville secondary plan as approved. The North Oakville East Secondary Plan designates the lands as Dundas Urban Core, Neighborhood Area, and Natural Heritage System. The intent of the neighborhood area is for the residential neighborhoods to be developed with a mix of uses, with a central neighborhood activity node within a 5-minute walk of most residents, including public facilities, live-work units, and limited commercial uses. The North Oakville Master Plan identifies designations on the Shield Bay lands including Dundas Urban Core, General Urban Area, Suburban Area, Neighborhood Center Area, Neighborhood Park, an elementary school block, and a village square. The lands for the park and school block have been coordinated between the Dundas Trafalgar applicant and the applicant on the subject file. The intent of this area is to accommodate a range of low and medium density residential dwellings with live-work units and limited commercial uses, such as small-scale convenience retail, personal service, restaurants, and small-scale business offices to serve the neighborhood residents. The Dundas Urban Core designation is intended to allow mixed-use development at medium and high densities with a clustering of retail and service commercial development and/or high-density buildings at the intersections with the north-south streets. I believe there was an error in my report that talked about the blocks along Dundas being Trafalgar Urban Core, but that was incorrectly stated. The subject property is zoned ED, or existing development, and like most lands within North Oakville, a zoning bylaw amendment is necessary to implement the proposal. The applicant has submitted a draft bylaw schedule for the site-specific zoning amendment to reflect the proposed rezoning of the property from existing development to Dundas Urban Core, General Urban Area, Suburban Area, Neighborhood Center, and Natural Heritage System. The development of the entire property includes low and mixed medium density residential uses consistent with the North Oakville secondary plan, commercial and mixed use buildings, roads, a park, school, and the natural heritage system. The following matters have been identified for your consideration as part of the complete analysis of the application: conformity with the North Oakville East Secondary Plan, neighborhood center uses and locations, the urban design of the site, proposed built form and densities, transit routes and impact to 8th line area residents south of Dundas, and servicing allocation. The next steps include the further review and analysis, as well as consultation with reviewing agencies. In conclusion, staff put forth the following recommendation: that with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment and plan of subdivision applications by Shield Bay Developments Inc., that they be received. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trish. Councillor Adams.
Thanks very much for the presentation. Thanks for picking up on the page 44 change from the Trafalgar Urban Core to Dundas Urban Core. Could I ask you a couple of quick questions? One is, you showed a map on your presentation that I believe had a number of walkways going across the northern element of the proposal. I think it was a colored map. That one.
This is our master plan from the North Oakville secondary plan.
So do those walkways continue in the proposal or not? And if not,
Can I just ask which, are you talking about the walkway?
So halfway between where your pointer is and the northern road, there are little green strips or light green
I
strips.
cannot see it. Oh, sorry, I can't see it on this as well. There you go. Okay. Are you
So down below, so below that, not within the green space, but within the.
right in there? Sorry.
That's right. That's what I'm pointing to.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. They are included in the subdivision plan. We're working with the applicant on whether or not there will be additional green space through there as another village square, or if it will be consistent as shown here.
So there's still some discussion over
Yes.
village square versus walkways, and if walkways, what kind of walkways?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we haven't gotten that far into the details of what kind of walkways we'd be working with the Parks Department on that.
Okay, so there's some discussion about how wide they'd be.
Yes.
And I see in the middle, I'll call it the middle block, where you in fact show two walkways that are thinner and smaller than the other walkways on the east and the west sides of it.
Yep.
Is that still under discussion, whether to have two or one in the middle?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, we have recently received comments from the Parks Department, so that's something that we need to sit down and discuss with the applicant.
And to date, what are the comments by the Parks Department?
Sorry, I don't think I have them on here. Much of the discussion was on the school block in coordination with the Minto development, and I'm not recalling if they were suggesting the width of the laneways, these walkways. I think it was a preference to stay with the walkways over another village square.
I'm sorry?
It was a preference to stick with the walkways over the inclusion of another village square.
Instead of okay, thank you very much. And my last question, so that's one issue I would like to get further information about how that will work. The other issue is with respect to the Dundas Urban Core area, are there shadow studies required of that? And if so, at what stage? Does it only happen at a later stage?
I don't believe we have a shadow study that was submitted with the application. I'm just looking quickly to remind me.
I presume it might only happen at a site plan.
Yeah, we did not receive a shadow study, probably based on the heights that were proposed. And that is something that we can look at further through the review of this or through the site plan.
Thank you. So if you could review that issue as well. Thanks very much.
Any others? Are there members of the public with questions or information on this file? I'll confine it to table. I guess I'll look to the ward councillors for a motion. Councillor Adams?
I'll move receipt of the comments from the public with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment and the plan of subdivision applications by Shield Bay Developments Incorporated.
Thank you, Councillor. It's moved. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. All right, that brings us to our discussion items. We have a few. First is to receive the Merton Planning Study Update Report. I'm told by council there's no need for a presentation. Councillor Elgar?
Your Worship, Councillor Lapworth and I, in Ward 4 anyway, where this all is, don't need a presentation. We're pleased with how we seems to be progressing at this point. We do understand the provincial staff are in it's called a caretaker mode right now, so hopefully things will, once that gets done, the elections get over, things will move forward there also. But I'd be pleased to move receipt of the report.
Thank you, Councillor, for your motion. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That carries. Number 7 is the recommendation report for the draft plan of condominium for Creekbank Developments at 2300 Upper Middle Road West. And if we, Councillor Elgar.
We don't need a presentation on that either. We've had a number of presentations on this, and this is more just getting some paperwork done, so I'd be pleased to move that also.
All right. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is carried. That brings us to the recommendation report for King's Christian Collegiate. Council, Councillor Knoll?
Thank you, Worship. Like my friends in Ward 4, we do not require a report on this. I'm pleased to move it at the appropriate time if there are no other questions, with the comment that we're very pleased that the two parties have gotten along and found a solution to work together.
Yes, this has been a much looked at file. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is carried.
Pardon me, there might be a comment from staff.
Madam Planning Director.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, there is just a matter on that there is a minor amendment to the zoning bylaw that accompanies the recommendation. So if that's so noted as amended with the exception of the bylaws.
That's right. I remember the councillor saying as amended.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Madam Director. Number 9 is the recommendation report for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision for pendant developments and lower fourth development. Councillor Knoll.
The same story as last time. We discussed this thoroughly when it came through last time. If there are no comments or other questions, we'd be pleased to move this as well. And move the recommended, the revised recommendation, which is contained on the memo.
Thank you. Members of the public with information for council on this file? I'll confine it to table. All those in favor? Yeah, he just said that.
Oh, okay.
So that carries. Thank you. That brings us to number 10, the recommendation report for 260 Bronte Road.
Worship.
Councillor Robinson?
Thank you. There are two residents here. I don't know if they have any questions or need to speak. I don't need a presentation myself, but I have two questions of the director that I would like to ask.
Councillor Robinson, your questions are in order.
Okay. Kind of maybe three. You're reconfirming again and again that the fence, the board-on-board fence, the solid board fence, and the landscaping is going to be installed.
Yes, through Your Worship to Councillor Robinson. All of the requirements that are set out as conditions of draft plan approval include the fencing requirements and the landscaping requirements, as you noted.
Oh, okay, now, Ms. Anderson, here's my two questions. The issue of hooking into the sanitary sewer system. They were hoping they could go across the street and do that into the condominium situation, but that's not possible, is it?
Through you, Your Worship, that's correct.
But you said that it's being worked on through the region to bring it in from Bronte Road.
The indication is that it is a regional matter, and so we could facilitate, and I did speak with Director Lambert on this from Development Engineering, we could facilitate a discussion with the region, with the residents on that matter.
Well, I know that, yes, okay, they would appreciate that. And no, Your Worship, I don't have any more questions. Thanks very much. I'll move this unless the people there want to.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson, for your motion. Are there members of the public with information for council on this matter? Seeing none, I'll confine it to table, and it's duly moved. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, and it is adopted. I believe that brings us now to the item number 11, the Heritage Grant Program recommendations. Councillor Duddick?
Your Worship, I'd be pleased to move that. I would draw council's attention and the public's to the fact that we had 28 applications that we received, totaling $235,000. So given the interest, you can be sure that this is one that will probably be coming back many years from now. We were very pleased to receive the applications we did, and out of interest, 21 of the 28 are receiving funds, so well done.
Sounds like you're calling this a success. Thank you very much. Other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, and that is carried. All right, Council, you have 3 confidential discussion items. Do you need to go into camera for those, or can you move them in public? Councillor Giddings, your hand went up first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to go into
I need a motion.
I would like to go into camera for that, and if you would like, I'd be happy to move number 12, the receipt of the Heritage Advisory Committee minutes, if that'll assist.
I think that's a fine idea. That way there's no public business left after we get back. So let's take item number 12 out of order. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Now, Councillor Giddings, do you need to go into camera for all 3 of these?
I don't, Mr. Mayor, just the C1 on the agenda.
Council, is there a chance I could have a motion approving C2 and C3? Councillor Adams?
I'd move item C2 and C3 as described in the reports.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That carries. And now, Councillor Giddings has moved that we enter a session closed to the public for the purpose of considering a legal matter subject to solicitor-client privilege and involving litigation or potential litigation with the town, which is permitted under the Municipal Act. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That carries. Madam Clerk, we need to arrange the chamber for a meeting closed to the public. All right, we're now resuming our public session, and I report that Council has met in closed session to consider a matter involving solicitor-client communication, which is privileged and eligible for a meeting without the public, on a matter that involves litigation or potential litigation concerning the town. And Council has given direction to staff, to legal staff, to join the opposition to the minor variance decision of the Committee of Adjustment respecting 7476 Trafalgar Road. Council, we now need a motion to rise and report. Councillor Johnston, thank you. I rise and report that the Committee of the Whole has met and made recommendations on consent items 1, 2, 3, and 4, public hearing item 5, discussion items 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, confidential discussion items C1, C2, and C3, and advisory committee minutes item 12, as noted by the clerk. May I have a mover and seconder for my report? Councillor Elgar, thank you. Councillor Lapworth, thank you. All those in favor? And that is carried. That brings us to new business. And Council, I call your attention to the new item from the Treasurer involving the Ontario Ice Storm Assistance Program. And in brief, while we have already delegated this authority to the Treasurer, the province would like us to do it again. I suppose it's belt and suspenders. And anything worth doing once is worth doing twice. Councillor Robinson? Thank you. I just need a seconder now. Councillor Johnston, thank you. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that is carried as well. So, is there any other new business of an emergency, congratulatory, or condolence nature? Thank you. Would a mover and seconder like to put up the bylaws for passage? Councillor Adams? Councillor Khan, thank you. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Council, that completes our agenda. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And it's been great working with you, and we are adjourned.